No, so when I hear this, when I see those kinds of things, no. I can't have somebody in there that I fear is going to control my body.
All right, Nikki, we are on. Hello, everybody. It is City Talk Fall River. We are live. I'm going to actually, wow, can I even move this microphone at all? I think it's been here so long now that it's like stapled into my table. Yeah.
Oh my God, it really did.
The whole table's moving. There we go. And just as a note, I run this.
Shabby for the mics that we have. Let me just say.
Yes, I run this little show, podcast, whatever you want to call it. I do it. I run it on my computer.
I run this.
And it's out of my apartment. And Nikki, just as a conversation about how this microphone did not budge at all when I tried to move it, I dare you to try to move that television that's on that table over there.
No.
It has been married, it's sealed, it's welded into that table. It is never going to move.
It has become one.
If that TV ever broke down, that whole table has to go. Because otherwise I have to break out the crowbar and pry it away because there's almost no way that TV's moving.
Right?
Yep. Anyway, I digress. It has been a hell of a month. We haven't been on for about a month. It's been one, and to quote Lindsey Graham, hell of a month. Hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Which one do you want to start with? You know me. I like the local politics. I did write a thing for the Herald News, an opinion piece on there. In addition to what Carol Ferrella said, and I want to give Carol Ferrella credit because she actually came out in the middle of an election and took a side on a hot topic, in my opinion. There are people that do want a third methadone clinic in the city. There are.
I'm sure there are.
I don't think there's a lot of voters that do, though. I would have to.
I would have to venture to guess.
I'd have to look into that. If
somebody is interested in opening it up, I would have to look into why they're interested.
Yeah.
In another one.
But at least, like, whereas a lot of politicians don't talk about, especially the local ones, they don't talk about hot topics. They don't talk about the Donald Trump. I'm the only person who's on the map of running for city council in Fall River that consistently has conversations with people about Donald Trump on his social media and all this and that, because I think conversation should be able to be had. I think discussion gets us somewhere as long as we don't.
Doesn't Steve Kamara, I do want to give people credit where it is due. Doesn't Steve Kamara talk about?
I will say that in Steve's case, he gets behind liberal causes. That's his thing.
So I do want to.
Right.
I have seen that.
He gets behind liberal causes. He like fully immerses himself in the.
He wants to go to events and things like that.
But that's not really a discussion on the topic. Right. That's more of him advocating for his base, for his political positions. That's a little different from trying to look at topics objectively and coming away with opinions.
Well, I will say this, just from me being a human being and seeing his posts.
Yep.
On a human being level, I do believe that there's a fire behind some of the things that Steve Kamara.
He believes it. He lives it. He's. I mean, it's not a secret. His preferences and things like that. He believes it. That's his life.
Right.
He's gonna advocate for that stuff.
So I just wanted to say that.
I'm throwing it out there.
He's the only other one that I've seen. I haven't seen anybody else though really discuss it.
But I think that and you have seen this. When given the opportunity to be objective on a topic, when he's given the evidence, such as when we both saw
locally,
right,
yes,
when we both saw Malone, the administrator, Mr. Malone, when we got to see the full context of his commentary about move to Russia and all that stuff, we understood where he was coming from on it, right?
Right.
We knew he wasn't saying if you don't want to vote for the new school, go to Russia, And we know that Steve Kamara is a very intelligent individual.
He knew that too. And that's why when he called into the show and we said, I don't think we listened to it and that wasn't
absolutely not. Matt Malone's, it's Matt, right?
Yes.
Matt, I always get my names mixed up. I feel so horrible about it. But Matt Malone did not say, you need to move to Russia if you don't want to vote for this new school.
It wasn't like when Lou called us all free riders.
That's exactly right. That's a very different situation.
It was not that kind of thing.
So I think that Steve has, when he goes out and he goes out on a limb to support a cause, especially in the national politics.
Yeah, I think that's where the difference.
He's confirming his liberal position on things.
Not afraid to say things for national,
But I think. I'm not talking about necessarily that. I'm talking about your local politicians in general. Stay away from hot topics. They do. They don't always want to take a side because they got votes to get. And they'd rather stay like on the fence on some things instead of actually telling what their full opinions are.
Well, I'm a habitual fence walker, so
I know that.
I don't mind that.
I do if I want a straight answer.
Well, if they have a conversation about it, then you can pretty much see where somebody, but if they just don't want to discuss it, then that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But if I was running for local politics, I'm not so sure that I would get into national. But see, I would obviously
you would.
With locally, I would.
Right.
That to me means more than I think it starts locally and trickles nationally. You know what I'm saying?
So
I said that I wish people would get more involved in local politics.
But your position on local politics does not always reflect, not you personally.
Right.
I'm saying people in general, their positions don't always reflect nationally on things. Mm-hmm. For example, when it comes to taxation, for example, right, or scope of government, power of government, right, I feel that people should have more of a say on a local level. I feel like right now, I got this, the Massachusetts Information for Voters, the 2018 ballot questions. I went to my recycling bin to put something away, and it was already in the recycling bin.
Yeah, people aren't reading them.
Right. That to me is a problem because that allows the government to continue doing what they want to do. Mm-hmm. And you have literally relinquished your opportunity, your right to actually have a say otherwise if you had that opinion. So you're literally just laying down and letting that go. But at the same time, that same person will jump on Facebook and say, President Trump better not do this.
Right.
Or, do you see what I'm saying?
Well, more people vote in presidential elections than any other. And
right.
That, to me, I've been saying that for how long? Like, I wish people would get as fired up about local issues. Like something as simple as the new school being built versus everybody freaking out about the Supreme Court justice.
Or people
have that same fire.
People complaining about wages not being high enough in something, or people complaining about their health care situation.
That too.
Right. So they got all these complaints on this level. Mm-hmm. But then when it comes to the local level, they don't want to be involved.
Well, my kids, I've had to explain to my kids that, 4 of them are voting age, way above voting age, and they don't always vote in every election. Mm-hmm. But it's like I constantly am texting them almost every other day now to explain to them, you guys are getting mad because your rents are going up, right? You're mad because your rent is going up, but you don't vote in local elections. You need to vote in the local election. You're not understanding that when you go to the gas pump, when you go to the market, every little thing that you do in this city alone, if you're not voting in our local politics, it's affecting what you're paying.
Absolutely.
Your landlord's bills, their water bills, and this is how I explain it. Do you think a property owner, when his water bill increases, do you think he should take that hit? Or do you think it should trickle down to your tenants? It should trickle down to the tenants. They're the ones using the water.
It keeps the system in place as to what's going on because your rent should be paying for your expenses. Right. I mean, that's basically what it is.
So that in that's where I try to get my kids to vote. So like I've actually changed a few of their minds. Like I'm forcing it because I need them to understand how important it is for them to vote in local elections. And they're like, I don't know who to vote for. I'm like, I don't care who you vote for. Read about them and then decide who you're going to vote for, but you need to vote. I can't take the not voting thing. It drives me crazy.
I almost forgot the phone number. Could you imagine?
All I know is Larry Bird.
Well, the last 2 numbers are 33.
Yeah.
So you have Larry Bird, you have Jason Veritek.
None of them mean anything.
Jason Veritek is pretty big in this town.
Larry Bird. You guys always say Larry Bird.
Patrick Ewing, Scottie Pippen. A lot of 33s out there.
Like Scottie
right?
Pippen.
Wasn't Scottie nice?
Patrick Ewing too.
All right. So we're back and live. Call in 774-955-0533. Boom. Yeah, now we both are going to go after this little buddy.
Apple cider vinegar will take care of that too.
I know. That's true. With a little bit of soap on the bottom.
Uh-huh.
I got it.
All the soap does is breaks the tension.
I had an eggplant. I didn't cook it, and now...
Oh, I got it. You didn't, damn it.
And now I have this little guy.
Well, it's like torture. They're everywhere.
Yeah. All right. Oh, I forgot to do? I forgot to put the link. How do we do that? We delete. Oh, we put edit. We can edit.
Copy, paste.
I'm copying and I'm pasting. I'm doing a little bit of both right now.
Ooh. We love copy and paste. So Derek's not here today.
Right.
Why not?
He said he had to go to New Bedford. I guess he's now in City Talk, New Bedford.
What?
That's what I think.
Traitor. It's
Very,
treason.
It's a very original name too. City Talk, New Bedford. We have the very first City Talk.
Is there a City Talk, New Bedford?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say, who is that?
Do you remember? I believe it was a little while ago.
Because I know there have been a few people who've tried to replicate what we do.
Well, there was a city councilor that had a little podcast at one point in time, and if I'm not mistaken, I forgot the name of the podcast. I really did, but I think the mayor's slogan was very similar to the podcast, if not exactly the same. And I think there was a complaint.
Yeah.
I don't remember it all, so I'm not gonna go into details on it.
I don't care that much.
Yeah, but it was interesting. I was like, wow, like a little podcast that probably didn't even really have advertising or money made or anything like that. It was interesting how that went. Could you imagine?
I don't care if somebody were to use the name City Talk. Like,
could you imagine if they did?
Words in the dictionary, use them.
Could you imagine if they did? Like, how would you feel about that?
Flattered.
That's exactly how I would feel. I wouldn't care.
Imitation is the biggest form of flattery.
Let's go a little further. Let's go a little further now. I was reading. I didn't involve myself in the discussion, but I was reading on Twitter. There was some people who were very, very upset that women now are kneeling during the national anthem.
Oh my God, I can't even believe you just said that.
They are.
I just told my boyfriend that I don't want to stand for the national anthem anymore.
But it's interesting. See, here's the angle that I was reading again on social media, Twitter. And there was a position by black people who were upset that women, white women, whatever women, were kneeling in protest of, for whatever cause that their cause was for, which I believe was for women of sexual assault, the Me Too movement,
that kind of thing. Oh, that's not why I wouldn't want to. I don't want to because I just don't think Colin Kaepernick is getting the respect he deserves. I think if his freedom of speech is being infringed upon, I'm going to stand by that. I don't believe that anybody, I don't believe what's happening to him is okay. I don't believe the president getting involved in our freedom of speech and trying to squash that is okay. So if somebody asked me why aren't you standing, I would say until Colin Kaepernick gets the respect he deserves for kneeling, there's no reason for me to stand. So he's not being treated the way we all should be treated. So
oddly enough, what's going on is these women are kneeling for a different reason. They're kneeling for their cause, which is, I believe, it's about sexual assault victims and things like that. The African American that was on Twitter was very upset, very angry about it, saying that they stole our form of protest. And I thought that took away, right? Didn't it? Right? To me, that took away.
That adds to the division.
That's exactly right.
Theirs, because see now, for lighter skinned people and for whiter people who want to stand behind somebody like Colin Kaepernick, right? Who, by the way, is biracial. Let's not sugarcoat things. He's biracial. He's mixed. So there's no attachment of color to, there should not be any attachment of color to protest. Like that, to me, if you're protesting something and I believe that you're a human being and you deserve whatever you're protesting for, like I agree with that. I want to protest with you. But if you're going to tell me that I'm stealing it,
that throws everything off. And they went a step further. There was a lot of people.
I don't think it's cool that
there was a lot of people that jumped in on this conversation, and they felt that it was sort of like, how all lives matter and all these other different lives matter. They were they get brought up as soon as they say,
it's not the same.
So they were saying that this is a similar form of it. And one person I even saw said it was a form of white supremacy, which I was like, wow, that's exactly what I said. I'm reading this. I'm like, is everyone losing their minds?
Okay, the whole reason that Colin Kaepernick knelt was because he felt that people were not being treated equally. Remember I said I'm so tired of people attaching color to it. So let's take color out of it.
I will throw something else out there.
And I know we need to talk about
I think I'm going to throw
black men being...
I was going to say that was the primary thing, was he was upset about specifically African American people who were getting killed unarmed
and we
in
do
the street.
need to talk about that. But I think for me, I want to treat everybody like people. So that's if I can say at the same time Black Lives Matter, because I know why Black Lives Matter. But I want I just want to be a part of it without there being any, like,
division, right.
I want everybody to be considered human, not African American.
I agree.
Like,
So I want to throw out there, I just want to throw out there too, that as a veteran, that I know for a fact that Colin Kaepernick and anyone else in the world, or especially in this country, they have a right to do that. I know that for a fact. No one should ever try to take that a person's right away from doing what they feel is right in their protest.
It's their right as an American citizen.
But my specific position on kneeling to honor or to bring awareness or to do whatever, kneeling for the flag or kneeling in front of the flag or kneeling during the national anthem, whatever it is that they're kneeling for, to me, still causes more division. And I wouldn't do that.
I don't think so.
And as a matter of fact,
I think he's bringing awareness to it.
And as a matter of fact, they leave the door open for someone like Donald Trump or someone like whoever to completely shut out the reason why they're doing it and say they're disrespecting military members, they're disrespecting the flag, they don't love America.
No, but then it goes back to freedom of speech, though.
I agree.
Because the argument then becomes and that's what pisses me off, actually, is because then the argument becomes, is it freedom of speech versus the whole reason Colin Kaepernick knelt in the first place, which is that young black men are being treated unequally by the police. That, to me, I mean, what's going on in Texas with Botham, is that his last name? The gentleman who shot in his own apartment? Like, that's just ridiculous to me.
It's way off the charts.
Like, so even that is being clouded by the whole idea of, is it free speech or not?
But I want to be clear that I feel that there is an issue, inequality issue. I do. I just don't know if kneeling is the path that's going to resolve that issue. I think I think it keeps us divided. I think it leaves the door open for people to remain divided. And I would want specifically Colin Kaepernick, to come forward and sit down. And he had an opportunity with Barack Obama, but it didn't happen. And I guess he might have an opportunity with Donald Trump. I have no idea. But I just would like to see that person come to the forefront to veterans, to everyone, and say, this is what this is about. I don't have any disrespect towards veterans. I don't have any disrespect towards people who have died for this country.
I don't know if he can, because of him suing the NFL. Can he?
I have no idea.
So that's the other side of it too, where.
But again, he is still in a position. He has a platform to bring people together, and he's chosen a gesture that can still keep us divided. And that's why I have a problem with that.
We've had so much conversation about it, about free speech, about freedom of speech. I don't think it brought too much attention to the topic he needed.
And here's my position. There are cops who have been shot. There are white people that have been shot. Yeah. There's people all over the scope that have been treated unfairly in one way, shape, or form.
That's right.
And so when black people came out and said Black Lives Matter, and then the other people said All Lives Matter, instead of coming together and saying, you know what, your life matters and so does mine, they said it. They had to be in opposition of each other, and that is
because
what.
There's no understanding, though. They're not
right.
People. You know what I hear constantly all day long, both sides. It happens on both sides. When no matter what debate, discussion, anything takes place. Listen now. Pay attention.
I'm listening.
Every single time, at some point, someone will say, "Oh, but that's on both sides. Oh, but that's both sides. Oh, but that's both sides." There's more than one damn side.
That's a little bit of a cop-out.
Like, there's more than one side.
No pun intended.
You might believe 40% of what we might agree on 40% of it, but disagree on the other 60%.
Sure.
It doesn't mean that there's two sides. It just means we agree on something and we don't agree on others.
The ability to disagree is probably one of the biggest issues right now that's going on in this country.
I can't talk to people.
The ability to be able to disagree because of the word. There's a vernacular that came out in 2015-ish that has really just driven the entire conversation. It's called winning. You can't just disagree with someone anymore. No. You have to win the argument.
But you know what I say when people do that? What is your goal at the end of this discussion? Because if your goal is to convince me to think like you, we can end the discussion right now and just talk about something else.
I said to a person that, I said, this is an opportunity to have a dialogue, to talk about things. So that way, if you feel someone doesn't understand where you are on a position, that they can then understand you. As long as you can keep the dialogue in a respectful way.
Like,
so then the person responded with, why do I have to do that?
See?
And then they responded with, I feel like I have to prove something to you. And I'm like, whoa, like, you don't have to prove anything to me at all. I'm just asking to have a conversation about something that we both care about. Mm-hmm. Can we do that? Can we actually do that? Because if we can't even do that,
you know, like when you
then we get nowhere.
You're with a group of friends, right? You're like, oh, we're hungry. Where do you guys want to go? Oh, well, I want some pizza. The other guy says he wants Italian. You know, eventually you work it out. Somebody in the group's not happy, but you go and you all eat anyway, right? Why can't it be like that? Why can't people come to some form of agreement?
Because
not
getting a
everybody
sandwich
is going to get what they want.
Because getting a sandwich isn't the same as feeling like your rights are violated. It's a different situation.
Okay,
and so
but
therefore
how
your
is a
emotional
man's-
state is going to be
but that doesn't fly with everything.
No.
It really doesn't.
But they believe the narrative, though. If they believe the narrative that, like, for example, if the Me Too movement is about women feeling like no matter how far ago it was, they feel like they should be justified for whatever assault happened to them in the past, right? That's what Me Too is mostly about, right? But if Donald Trump says this is a bad time to be a man because of this movement, now you have groups of men who are going to believe that conversation and say, hey, I'm a victim now too because I can be accused of anything at any time. So now instead of a movement,
it up.
right? Instead of a movement actually, serving its cause, it now just causes more people to stay divided. Mm-hmm. And I bring that back to Colin Kaepernick again. He had a cause that I believe is true. I think that there are. Philando Castillo. Anybody want to have a conversation with me about anything? Talk to me about Philando Castillo. Of course there's a problem.
NRA with Philando Castillo.
Right. Of course there's an issue there. But kneeling in front of the flag, in my opinion, does not get us to a place where we can respectfully talk about this. I think kneeling before the flag keeps us divided, and that's why I don't support that. I don't support that.
But Colin Kaepernick wasn't doing it for anybody except for himself.
He was doing it for people who.
But he
wanted to see some justice.
But that was what he did.
Right.
So we can't, I don't want to sit here and tell Colin Kaepernick, oh, well, you shouldn't do that because you were dividing people. Okay. He is doing a ton of other things behind the scenes.
Sure.
So, and again, I don't know how far he can go with because of the lawsuit with the NFL. Right. I don't know how public he can.
But Nikki, I'm just saying that if he, as a human being, is seeing that there's groups of people out there that are saying, by you doing what you're doing, you're disrespecting veterans, you're disrespecting Americans, you're disrespecting the country, you're disrespecting people who died for the country. If he, as a human being, is seeing that, he's got to say to himself, all right, there's groups of people out there that I want to reach out to so that they understand where I'm coming from. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't do that,
what I'm saying is maybe he can't do that yet, right?
Okay.
Now. If he's suing the NFL,
right,
it would have been wise for him to keep his mouth shut.
Sure.
Once that whole court case,
that's a speculative position.
I mean, I don't know if it's true.
We're speculating
I can only speculate.
Right.
Usually, it's like, okay, you don't want to talk about. I can't comment on that case because we're still in litigation. Once that court case is over, if he then continues to remain the way it is now, then I'll agree with that.
Well, now, can I throw in a little extra on Colin Kaepernick's part that he should be completely responsible for? When he kneeled, and I think there's a photo of it, the man had pigs.
Yeah, that I didn't like either.
On his socks.
I agree.
And to me, that shows that he doesn't give a shit
about the pigs.
If other people are upset about this and offended by it. And again, if they are offended because they truly believe that kneeling is a disrespect towards veterans, they have that belief. They have that right to believe that.
Absolutely.
And I wouldn't want to take that away from them. What I do hope is that someone with the platform that he has millions of dollars behind him with Nike, he has all this stuff going on right now, that he does extend to that group of people and say, look, this is what this is about. It's not about what you feel it is. Mm-hmm. And if he at least does that on his part, And he even apologizes for saying, you know what, I got emotional, I put the pigs out there. Right?
I can see
and
that.
if he says those kind of things and they still push him away and they still, at least he did his part. But he didn't. I just feel like someone who sparked such...
It was the wrong time to wear those socks.
Right. For someone who sparked such an emotional response by so many different people in so many different directions, he now has a platform.
And I'm actually one of those people who
Definitely.
wears socks. I love funky socks.
Right.
I wear funky sock pizza slices
Right.
and sushi and stuff like that. Like, I wear different kinds of
Oh,
socks.
I'm pretty sure that was a
But
calculated move.
Again,
Yeah.
I know what socks I'm putting on my feet.
I'm 100% sure that was a calculated move.
So at that point,
so
I
that's
totally forgot about that.
So that's what I feel like. That's what I feel about this whole thing. It's that I want to see people care about a black person getting shot just as much as I want people to care about a woman possibly being raped 40 years ago. I want people to give a crap about other people going through pain.
Yes.
Right?
That's my ultimate. Like, I wish. Like, remember, I said a while back that I wish when we saw newspaper articles, right, we would see, you know, like, man gets shot by police officer instead of
Black
man gets shot by white officer.
Well, you know, I
you know
had
what I mean? Or like
the Trayvon Martin thing threw me for a loop when the media jumped all over that, because all of a sudden Zimmerman became a white Hispanic.
Man. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like they're feeding into it.
Yeah. I was like,
they're
what
feeding
the hell?
into it. Why?
Instead of saying it's a person, right? But then I know why George Zimmerman felt the way he felt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
The
yeah.
whole thing. So you do have to bring up, like, race is a part of things,
Course.
but it's just the media feeds into that, and that's why Donald Trump is he can use the term fake news, and people are like, oh yeah, it's fake news because of things like that.
They leave the door wide open for a muddied argument.
Yeah.
And it distracts from what the real causes are.
Yeah.
And it distracts from trying to improve situations for people's lives. That's really what it comes down to. And, you know, I respect people who come out there and try to talk about these issues in a way that hopefully is respectful to each other. I really, really try to get a conversation going where I can express my opinion. If I don't like Donald Trump's tariff war, right? Mm-hmm. Or if I feel as though what happened in Korea had some good things, but overall it was disappointing because we didn't get the end result, even though it was said to us that it was going to be that way. Like, to me, I should be able to express my opinions on these matters.
Absolutely.
You should be able to say, I disagree with that because X, Y, Z, and us having a real discussion about it. And if we can walk away from it saying, all right, this is my position, your position, it's fine, it's what it is, it's fine. But every single time, every time that I have a conversation about it, specifically me, things come my way. Last night, I expressed an opinion that I felt as though when Kavanaugh and Ford had their opportunity to talk to the Senate, I felt as though it was unresolved. Number one, there were other people that were supposedly involved in this conversation that couldn't be a part of the conversation for whatever reason. There's a lot of questioning about Ford's lie detector test. There's all kinds of unanswered questions, in my opinion. And when Donald Trump himself said, his own words, by the way, said that there was going to be no limitation to the FBI's ability to investigate the allegations. When it was said that way, and it was said on a tweet, so it's out there, that there were no limitations. No limit makes me think of Master P in the 90s. No limit, okay? I'm thinking there's no limit to what he's going to do, or what the FBI is allowed to do. I posted on in my opinion, that it was disappointing, that I feel like we're going to see this situation go down where there wasn't a real investigation, that there were limitations on this FBI investigation.
There was limitations on it the day they said it. They said it a week.
Even so, even though Donald Trump himself, the president of the United States in 2018, is saying that there were no limits to this investigation, it's disappointing to hear that there were. And as a matter of fact, they didn't even interview the two parties involved in the process. So I felt like we kind of got hosed a little bit. That's what I felt. My opinion. That's not me being a lefty or a liberal or blah, 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 or a Trump hater or this, that, and the other. This is me looking at the actual facts. The man said himself that the FBI investigation was not going to have any limits. And it did. That's it.
The fact that this woman said she was assaulted by that man, we never should have seen what we saw. Never.
Oh, the laughing at her and all this.
The entire process never should have happened in public. That should have been private, behind closed doors. I don't believe any woman who has been the subject of an assault should have to publicly recount her assault. To me, that is the... Whether or not, and let's be real, every single politician, Republican, Democrat, every one of them said she was credible. Okay, so if every one of them actually believe that, no woman who has been assaulted like that should have to recount an assault in public, let alone in front of a bunch of men who are sticking up for the guy that allegedly assaulted her. So, and on top of that, for him, as being the accused, that never should have happened publicly. Because again, if he's not the actual person who had done that to her, and I don't know, I wasn't in the room, I wasn't with them, that's none of my damn business. Okay? It never should have been taken place publicly because it turned into a political nightmare, a football, and it made my inside shrivel to no end. I got to see... Okay, I really have to talk about this because everybody keeps talking about how she was treated, how Kavanaugh was treated. Let's take away how either of them were treated, okay? Take them out of the room. The Republican men who felt the need to bring, I've been dying to say this all week, who felt the need to bring in a woman question
yeah, that was interesting.
Kavanaugh.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Not to question Kavanaugh, to question Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. They felt, now, I was like, why are they doing this? And Trot, you can back me up on this. How many times have we've had people say to us, oh, we're starting a show with 2 women, oh, we're starting a show with 2 men, and I say, if women want equal rights, it should be men and women.
Can I hit the pause button real quick?
Sure.
My man Jared listens, and Jared sent us a text.
Okay.
And I got to give Jared a lot of credit because we've been on and off, and every time I post,
faithful.
And every time I post, he says something and he engages in the conversation.
I love my faithful friends.
To your point, and I'm going to read it. The only thing is Colin Kaepernick does his protest on company time, and company does not apply to freedom of speech, just like when Curt Schilling got fired by ESPN for his tweets. Do you have anything to say? Because I do.
I do.
Go ahead.
What was it? Who was the one who used to pray to God, who knelt?
Tim Tebow.
I thought so, I just wasn't sure. Tim Tebow. That's it.
Okay. Jared.
Is that a word?
Jared. I believe ESPN specifically has language in the contract with their employees that they're not to do certain things. Just like in the military, there's certain things in our contract that we are not allowed to do as military members. However, the NFL has a union, and the NFL Players Union, and they have an owners union, and they have all these different entities. And I don't think that Colin Kaepernick's specific thing was ever really addressed by everybody in the union. I don't think there was a resolution. So I think the door was wide open for Colin Kaepernick to do exactly what he did. And then I think even then the owners got together without the players union and came up with these rules. And if I'm not mistaken, that was wrong too. That was against protocol, whatever.
They had to stop it.
So I think that situation, as long as it's not been specifically, and again, if you show me that it is specifically in their language, then my bad, I'll step back from that. But I think that he had the freedom to do that until they actually resolve it together as a players union and the NFL owners and all that kind of stuff.
And I also do want to say that the President of the United States did not weigh in on
Tim Tebow,
right. Or Curt Schilling.
Well, Curt Schilling, no.
Neither one of them weighed, the president didn't weigh in on either of those situations. Right. Had the president not weighed in on Colin Kaepernick's kneeling, I don't think that it would have been such a big issue. Right.
So, Jared, thanks for listening. Obviously, I'm sure you got more to say on it, so I'll definitely keep track of that. But I just, I feel like that that whole NFL, you're at your job thing, it doesn't address the real issue a little bit. Like, I want to see somebody actually say to Colin Kaepernick, hey, look, we understand where you're coming from, but now you need to explain to yourself, to the veterans and the people who really believe that you're disrespecting them. Like, I think he needs to have that conversation. That's what I really think needs to happen on that.
I would hope he wants to have that conversation.
Right.
That's the difference.
I agree with that too.
There's no legality to him having to have that conversation.
All right, so go.
And before I go, I want to say, when you're working for a private company, okay? Because we had people in an uproar. Nope. People were in an uproar about Roseanne when Roseanne got fired. People are in an uproar about Colin Kaepernick. Whatever the private business, private company decides to do as far as with their employees, provided it's by law, then I'm all for it. If there's a union and there's a union contract and all of these things, then that's what needs to take place. But I do think that politics needs to stay out of private business, private company business.
ESPN and ABC are all under a parent company. I believe it's Disney. So that to me actually was very consistent. They went at Curt Schilling, and then they also went at Roseanne. Roseanne made a comment on Twitter about a black woman looking like a monkey on Planet of the Apes or something like that. Yeah, I honestly don't know all the details.
She called her, I believe it was
Planet
of the Apes.
Yeah.
If somebody and somebody else came together and had a baby or something like that, it wasn't a very nice comment at all. But again, not my business for ABC to fire her. She worked for a private company. That's what they chose to do.
The libertarian point of view on that is, let that woman, whoever it is, Roseanne or whoever, say what they're going to say. Don't intervene and allow nature to take its course. People will probably protest the show. They'll lose advertisers, X, Y, Z. So the person didn't need to lose their job. That's the libertarian position on that. However, I think that if you sign a contract with a company that you work for, and it's already in a language that you have an expectation to uphold yourself in the public a certain way, because your public image is going to literally affect the viewership of the TV show and everything.
I wouldn't want a racist working for me. See you later.
Right. So there's so much language involved in all that. But as far as the NFL goes, I don't think they've resolved that issue. As a matter of fact, I think that NFL has been pretty cowardly, not just on the kneeling issue, but on many issues in the NFL.
I would also like to see the contract between the NFL and the United States of America as far as how much the NFL is getting paid for the planes to go over and for all their little hooplas at the NFL. I'd like to see their contract.
Yeah.
To see what their contract says and how much it's for.
If you remember what you were saying before I jumped in.
I do, actually.
All right, good. Because I hit the pause button for Jared. Thank you, Jared, for listening and taking part.
We were talking about Kavanaugh.
Go for it.
And Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. And I said, as a human being watching it from home, what I saw was these Republican men, the males, Republican males, because they were all males and no women on the Republican side of the Judiciary Committee, they felt that it was important to bring in a woman. Rachel Mitchell is her name. She's from Arizona, Maricopa County. They came in to bring her, Republican prosecutor. They brought her in to question Dr. Christine Blasey Ford and Brett Kavanaugh. During multiple interviews, Mr. Grassley, I forgot who else is on the committee, Corker, I believe. I saw so many interviews. They brought in Rachel Mitchell to question because they didn't want to say anything wrong. They felt like if we question her, people may take it the wrong way. We may say something that might be a little askew or what have you. That made me cringe. Because if they felt that it was important enough to bring in, because they felt like so adamant that they couldn't question this woman, right? They weren't adequate enough. They really felt that they were going to say something wrong. They brought in a woman to question her, but they have no problem making laws about my vagina. They have no problem making laws about abortion. It's got nothing to do with men. They couldn't even question this woman. But they're perfectly confident with putting Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court. That's what stayed with me. I wanted to actually write every member of the Judiciary Committee just to say that. Like, you couldn't I would have appreciated if they would have questioned her more. Like if they would have been the ones to question her, I think as a human to human, you should be able to talk to somebody without feeling like you're going to say something wrong. And if you felt that you, like, not confident enough that you could do that, why would you feel confident enough to make laws about my body? Laws that have no effect on you whatsoever. How are you okay with that? But you couldn't question her? That's what sat with me. I've been like dying to talk about that. Like every day, it's all that's on my mind is how could they have felt such little confidence in themselves just to question her on things that they say publicly,
and
right? And
there's also a lot of people that believe that there shouldn't be a quote African American name, like we're all Americans. Like there's people that say they don't see color, they don't see this, they don't see that. That we shouldn't have like African American month and things like that because we shouldn't have to be separated and segregated and things like that.
I'm one of those jerks that used to say that, but I nope. I just
now,
learned why I shouldn't say that.
So now it usually has come from that sector of the political scope, that the conservative scope. They were against affirmative action and things like that, right? So it's a little bit hypocritical to then say, hey, we're having a conversation with a female. Let's get ourselves a female to have a conversation with a female.
Yes.
So it looks more sensitive to the situation.
Yes.
But then they stepped over her because
they
it wasn't...
took her out when she started questioning Kavanaugh.
Right.
And that, again, is the point that
it showed the inequality.
You wouldn't let her question Kavanaugh. That was that's what sealed the deal for me. At first, it was like, okay, they're not even confident enough to ask her themselves. And then when she started questioning, it was like, how dare you? How dare you question him? We're going to stop you. You're not good enough. Like that, don't do that.
Well, you're perfectly fine, but you're perfectly fine to have a conversation with the female, but don't question the man. We'll take care of that.
Yeah.
And then when they did, there was a lot of partisan conversation.
Was he fucking around?
Well, there was a lot of partisan conversation.
Yes, it wasn't anything about what happened. That whole entire day had nothing to do with what actually happened to her.
There was a lot of partisan conversation. I'll say that. I'll put that out there.
Who paid for the? I don't care. That's not stuff. Don't put that in private. Go put that in private. If that's stuff that happened to her, right, and you believe that she's saying it because it's partisan and the Democrats put her up to it, put that behind closed doors and stop this nomination already.
There was
there
a lot
of other people.
There was a lot of partisan conversation. I'll say it again, and I think that we didn't get anywhere because everyone did was confirm their position on things. Lindsey Graham asking Kavanaugh if he thinks this is hell is not what I think the FBI...
What you did to this man.
Right. I don't think I can equate what I believe an FBI investigation would be. I don't believe it would be like that. So when people were trying to tell me that the Senate hearing act was the investigation equal to what an FBI investigation would be, then I completely disagreed with that because I watched it. And then a lot of people saying that I didn't watch it. I watched it. I watched a lot of people take their partisan position in the questioning. And I anticipate that an FBI investigation would not have that type of element to it. I thought it would be an objective situation where they would confirm the statements that were said in the hearing because, again, there was a lot of questionable things being said that people didn't know certain things and drinking history, and she didn't have a whole lot of information. She didn't have a whole lot of detail. So I wanted a real investigation into that. I wanted to see if there was actual information and make it public for us to see the consistency and inconsistencies in their stories. We didn't get that. The FBI investigation did not consist of that. And again, and then I got people showing me photos of Joe Biden from 1991, this, that, and the other. Man, I have the President of the United States in 2018 telling everybody on video and on his social media that the FBI did not have a limitation on their investigation. But they did. And that's disappointing. we're going to see this whole thing go down where there was not a real investigation. And there should have been, in my opinion. And that's that. Like, there's absolutely nothing more that we could say about it. People have said to me that, well, that's not what the FBI does. Well, again, I say, then why was the president telling everybody?
Federal Bureau of Investigations.
You would expect that.
They
the name
investigate
things. But again, I didn't even have the FBI. I had the president of the United States saying that there was no limit on the investigation.
Right.
That the FBI was not restricted. And they were. Mm-hmm. So that is, like, it's not a left-wing partisan position. It's a fact.
Listen, we had people saying they were pushing Brett Kavanaugh through before the FBI even investigated. The first second they said the FBI was investigating, they said it doesn't. Lindsey Graham, it doesn't matter what the FBI investigation says, I'm still voting Kavanaugh through.
I believe there was someone that said something like, we're going to plow through this. Mitch McConnell, maybe?
Yeah. It was 51-49. Like, they knew it was going to be. They knew exactly how it was going to be. They put pressure on certain...
So one way or the other, whether... Like, let's just flip the entire script around, Nikki. Let's just say that this was a liberal Senate that had the votes, and it was a liberal judge that had the history of drinking and all this and that.
It would have been the same exact thing, provided it was flipped. That's what's irritating me.
Yeah.
And people keep talking about, keep bringing up 1991, dummies, because guess what? That's what started this whole entire baloney that we keep going through. If our politicians haven't figured it out yet, this is how it goes. Whether it's Republican or Democrat, we'll start with Democrat. You got a Democratic president that gets elected, right? 2 years later, people are pissed off. So everything changes. You get the Senate or the House. They become Republican. Then 2 years after that, or whether it's 6 years later, like, this shit just keeps flipping. But it never flips to full. It did for 2 years, right? Trump gets elected, Republican, who's a fake Republican, by the way, and he will flip. He's going to flip. Fake Republican.
You're talking about Trump being a fake Republican?
Trump is such a fake Republican, and it irks me. Because I want to be a Republican so bad, but I can't be. And this is just proving why I can't be a Republican.
Okay.
I call myself a Republicrat. I bleed purple, you know that. But anyway. Not just because of purple bags. Anyway.
Oh, man.
Anyway.
Wow.
What was I saying?
Where's Derek? Where's Derek? I need to look at Derek right now. Where's Derek?
I got sidetracked. What was I saying?
You were saying, well, I was in the middle of saying that no matter what the situation is, it really comes down to who has the partisan majority. Because whether this was, if Kavanaugh was a liberal and we had a liberal Senate, then I believe the Republicans would want a real investigation on this situation too. So I think this really just proves to everybody, in my opinion, that partisan politics is the problem.
And we're trying to change that, right? Listen, I believe voters are trying to change that. That's how Trump got elected, because nobody believed he was one or the other.
Yeah.
He was this crazy guy who was going to come in and take care of everything, right? Not how it worked out for everybody. There are some people who still stand behind him, and he's got some people who voted for him, people I know who voted for him that are like, no, I can't even believe what he's doing. So but this is why now we'll end up with the Democratic House, right? It's going to be the same stupid thing all over again.
It's going to be a partisan tug of war.
There is going to be nobody saying let's work together. It's this flip, and the reason it keeps flipping like that is because we only have two damn options. It's either Republican or Democrat.
So partisan politics.
We need to primary the hell out of people.
So partisan politics has been the issue, and now you're going to end up with partisan judges.
Again, all over
again. You're going to end up with partisan judges and this, that, and the other, and it really doesn't resolve the issue. And again, it comes down to that term winning, right? It comes down to that term winning. Yeah. So
let's not forget who
your
gave
political
us that term.
party,
Charlie Sheen, people.
Your political party has to, quote, win in order to get things right in the country. I just don't see.
No, it's not to get things right in the country. It's for businesses, and who's buying those votes?
Well, again, that was more of a rhetorical type question of, if your party does win, then what? Right?
Then they do what they want.
And is that going to make things better for the country?
No, but this is the thing. And then they just keep doing it because they know that it's only a matter of time before they lose those spots.
So I think in order to really get some type of...
And then the Democrats come in and screw it up too.
So I think in order to get some legitimate type of like fairness out of this whole process, you actually have to take the partisanship out of these processes. Such as, I mean, such as something so important.
This is why Brett Kavanaugh should not be on the Supreme Court.
So
just
important.
Because of that reason.
So important that you're going to have now a Supreme Court justice that is going to be a part of the process, decision-making process for so many years. And if he is someone that has a leaning...
My uterus is shriveling.
If he is someone that has a political leaning towards a certain kind of way, well, now you don't have a fair, impartial, objective judge in the office anymore. And that, to me, is not going to make our country better. That's not going to make America great again. That's not going to make anything great. I really take big issue with partial politics when it comes to that kind of thing. We need more objectivity, and I don't think we got that with Kavanaugh. That's the truth.
No, we didn't.
I don't think
we didn't. And you know something? They will push. Everybody's like, well, why are they rushing it through? Why are they rushing it through? And I said, that's what's pissing me off the most, and that's why I believe they want to push him through, is because they know that it's just a matter of time before they lose seats. Democrats come in, and now we start some impeachment baloney that's going to go nowhere. We're going to spend millions of dollars on absolutely nothing, so the Democrats can threaten Trump and say, either you do what we want or we're going to impeach you. And it's going to start the same old routine all over again, and that's why I call him a fake Republican.
I agree that an impeachment isn't going to get us anywhere with Donald Trump.
No, they're just going to threaten the process.
But I think what an impeachment possibly does is it puts Donald Trump on the stage of having to talk to people and say the truth or lie. And that is where they got Clinton on some things, right? And that's where I think that...
But that's where I'm saying they're going to back him into a corner to where it's going to be, you have to vote our way.
Yep.
You have to do what we want you to do, or you're going to be out.
There's a couple of situations going on with Donald Trump. There's more than just...
And that's why I believe the Republicans
are
trying to push Brett Kavanaugh in, is because they know that if the Dems come in, that Trump is going to side with the Dems. They know that. There's
more than what's going on with Donald Trump, though. Such as he does have this Russian probe with Mueller going on right now. However, there's also a case in New York State that is actually...
Yeah, nobody cares about Trump. Republicans, that are political politicians, Lindsey Graham, they don't care about Trump.
They care about his base, and they care about keeping in position of power.
No, they just care about pretending right now.
But if Donald Trump is in any kind of situation in that state case, or even in the Russian probe, whatever, if there is any kind of evidence at all that ends up popping up that implicates him to having to face criminal charges at all, now you have a judge in the Supreme Court that in the past has expressed the president is above the law. And that, to me, is the main reason why they want Kavanaugh in the office.
But does it go to Supreme Court?
Well, not the state one. The other one would.
Does it?
The Russian?
Isn't it Congress?
The Russian one?
Or isn't it Congress that gets to decide who gets to impeach?
I'm about 100% sure the Supreme Court's involved in that other one. Definitely not in the state case.
I don't think the Supreme Court has anything to do with that impeachment. Impeachment is Congress, if I'm not mistaken.
Impeachment, yeah, but I'm talking about if he gets hit with criminal charges.
He can't. He can't be charged while he's president. You can't be. You can't be. And I'm going to tell you right now, no Democrat and no Republican would allow that to happen.
I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of Democrats that would allow it to happen.
They wouldn't publicly. They would take that information, and that's what I'm talking about. They'll take that, and they'll go to him behind closed doors. Because listen, no matter what, at the end of the day, if we have to publicly say that our president
is a criminal
and got with Putin in Russia, do you know what that would do to our country?
Be a big war.
So I don't believe, even if they got that information, there's absolutely no way that would make it public.
Doesn't that add to the corruption?
No. Sorry, I'm one of those people that says that's not something that can be public. And although I might like that information, other countries...
I gotta say, I think that adds to the corruption. All right. We went through this whole gamut. We went through this whole thing. All it does for me is confirm that partisan politics rip this country apart. That's all I know.
not going anywhere yet either.
But now, we'll go back to Carol Fiola, if that's okay. Carol Fiola had an article in the Herald News.
Democrat.
Carol Fiola had a topic in the Herald News not too long ago, and she took a strong position against having a third STAR facility in the greater Fall River area. You like that term, greater Fall River area, don't you, Nikki?
I think it's a comical term.
Yeah. But that's exactly where they wanted to set this up.
Where else are they located in greater Fall River? I'd like to know.
We have two already in the city. We have one in the Pleasant Street area.
Okay. But
and we have another one
they talk about
in the East Main Street.
Greater Fall River includes, if I'm not mistaken, Swansea, Somerset, Westport, maybe Dartmouth.
Okay.
Where are the facilities there?
Do you feel like they should put the facilities in one of those spots?
I think those spots, if they have drug addicts, they would need to have some facilities. No.
Okay. All right.
Not everybody can walk from Dartmouth to Fall River or from Somerset to Fall River. They would probably do good to have some facilities.
Now,
I mean, when you read arrest records, there are people from greater Fall River who are being arrested for paraphernalia and for selling drugs, and
now
so I would imagine
why
they would need those
now why
facilities.
don't you want another one in Fall River?
We don't need one. I have seen facility after facility pop up, program after program pop up, and there are more people who are doing drugs now than ever before. If we really want to change our people getting involved with drug use, we need to stop doctors from prescribing so many pain meds.
So that's the real issue.
I don't think the issue is to bring in more doctors that would write more prescriptions. I think it's to cut the doctors that can write prescriptions for pain meds, opiates where people become addicted, OxyContin. Let's not forget the OxyContin was one of the big, huge things that got massive people involved in drug use. That was prescribed by doctors. There are many people I know who were fine, got into car accidents, prescribed OxyContin, forget about it. Now they're drug addicts.
So we need to hit that situation.
Absolutely. If we're really going to talk about seriously decreasing the amount of drug usage, then let's get where it starts. Not
So then
worry about the end game.
question the effectiveness of these clinics.
I do, absolutely.
All right, so then you wouldn't want them to build a clinic in
believe,
Westport or some other place.
I believe that a lot of charities aren't necessarily charities. A lot of charities are money makers. They're in it to make money, and people can say, no, they're not. No, they're not. Well, if a grant comes in and somebody is getting paid $100,000 a year, somebody's making money off the program.
So if you question the effectiveness of these facilities, then you also don't think then that they should actually build another one in a different part, Westport, Dartmouth, Somerset.
I think they could take one of the existing ones that we have in Fall River and maybe move it.
But if you question their effectiveness, why would you want them to?
Well, they're already open. So
All right, so just keep it.
Well, here's the thing: we need to take how many people in Fall River are actually and I'm talking like Fall River residents. How many come in from outside? How many are these?
Remember Barnstable.
Well, do they even have do they even have data that shows how many patients from these drug facilities are patients of doctors who have prescribed those meds? Give me that. If you're going to tell me that 50% of patients who are going to these clinics also have doctors who prescribe the opioids, then let's get at the doctors who are prescribing the opioids and we'll be good. Send them through one of the treatment programs and then we're out. I believe treatment programs can be of value if people want to get clean. If you've got a bunch of people who don't want to get clean and people who go to doctors who keep prescribing them pills, them drugs,
it's a cycle that keeps on going.
It just keeps going. There are so many more people now. I grew up, there are less people in the city and more people doing drugs than there were 20 years ago, 40 years ago. So that to me is telling. So if we have all these, and then I read, where do the people go after they get treatment? Where are the jobs? What jobs?
There is no actual federal guideline or I don't even know if there's a state guideline as to what entails an actual real drug facility, I think they can do almost anything they want. It's funny. I have the ballot in front of me where the government may in the future be in charge of how many nurses per patients they can actually assign. And it's interesting that where we have these guidelines, but when it comes to one of the biggest problems in the state, easily the biggest problem in Fall River, and one of the biggest problems in the country, there's almost zero guidelines as to what's going on.
Because it's a moneymaker. There is money to be made in facilities, treatment facilities. There's money to be made by the drugs that they prescribe in those treatment facilities. There's money to be made by the doctors who are treating people in these facilities. It's a moneymaker. And everybody can say, oh, well, we're funded by this program. You're funded still by grants. And again, if any of these treatment programs are paying anybody near $100,000 a year or more, it's a moneymaker. That's all. I can't. You're in a city where the people are making, what, $30,000 a year on average? That's their yearly income.
I have a friend who runs a sober house, right? Actually, I'm not. I don't want to call it a sober house because I think it's actually something different. But she runs a house for people who are going through addiction problems, and she's been through the gamut herself. She's a family member who's been through the gamut. You know what I mean? Very admirable individual because her heart's in the right place, and she's actually got some success going on right now. And I think it's a great thing what she's doing. And I believe we have many other facilities that are not methadone clinics in Fall River, small houses, facilities, counseling services
that we don't always know about.
Right, and there's so many things. The city has an abundance. The city has definitely made its dedication to trying to help people who have addiction problems. Has it been 100% successful? I think that's in the hand of the person that's trying to get clean. I think it's in the hands of the person that's trying to recover. You know, I don't think we can just sit there and say this facility is no good or that facility is no good because there's still drug addicts in the streets. Like that shows a complete misunderstanding as to what entails the entire process that people are going through that puts them in the position they're in.
I just don't think we need more.
I have already expressed my opinion that I don't think another methadone clinic is going to improve the situation. I think it might even make the situation even worse.
They keep also saying that where they want to build a facility, it's not near where people live. Yes, it is. My daughter's friend lives right across the street from where they want to build it.
Reed Street's right
there. Well, it's a high rise. It's an old mill that's filled with apartments. So I've Google mapped it and everything, so it's right there. So I don't know why they're saying that there's nobody who lives around there.
And
yes, there is.
That property mysteriously just went up in flames. And
isn't it funny?
In February, I believe it was.
I also believe, wasn't that somebody didn't get notified or something happened? Was that the...
No, that was the school. Remember Westall? That was the Westall school thing. But I think it was Westall. Not maybe it wasn't Westall. It was one of those schools. Maybe around the corner. Yeah, it was one of those schools in that
area.
Yeah, where they had the notification didn't come in time, and I think that was a problem. Anyway,
the alarm went off and nobody said
Anyway, as far as the methadone clinic in the North End, that mysteriously went up in flames, and then just months later, now we have this $12 million property that's going to be invested in to have more. I think it's going to be about 30 beds, and you know, it's tough, man. It's tough to on one hand say we need to do something.
I'm not telling them they can't build it. I don't want it here.
It's tough on one hand to say we have a problem in the city. We need to take care of it somehow, some way. It's on the other hand.
And 30 beds, what's that going to help?
On the other hand,
if the problem is as bad as they're saying.
And on the other hand, we do have a lot of services in place to help people. What Fall River, I'm trying not to go down the road of my article, but what Fall River does not have an investment in is a higher education. We have BCC. We have BCC, and I have nothing but respect for BCC. There are a lot of people that have gone to BCC and have made very, very good with their lives. There's nothing wrong at all with BCC, but it's not a four-year college. And it doesn't build on what other people want to do with their education when they graduate high school.
I love that you're so into that platform. Well, I can't even tell you how it's so needed in this city more than these facilities. Right. We absolutely need more programs for adults.
Also, I want to throw out there I want to throw out there, and it's something that somebody said to me a while back. Some of these people that are in recovery need jobs.
Yep.
Some of these people that are in recovery do have jobs, which is fine. But some of these other people that are trying to get on their feet, but they've made, I don't want to even say mistakes, they've made bad decisions in their lives for 15 years or so. But guess what? They're trying to turn a corner and they can't, because society...
High five to that, too,
Right.
because there's plenty, and
Right.
you know how I feel about that. There are
Right.
plenty of people in Fall River who've gotten themselves sober.
Right.
Plenty of people.
Or even
They
they
don't get
fell
any
down,
credit.
they keep on falling down the cracks because opportunity just isn't there. So they end up back in the street. They end up back in the same patterns. It happens.
And
I'm
a lot
not...
of people we know, though, the ones that we've had friends, I'm sure you've had friends, I know I have, who've had issues, and they're like, I got to get out of Fall River because if I stay here, I just keep
oh my
getting
God,
into the
how
same
many
thing.
times do I hear that?
I just keep getting into the same thing. Then they go out to the sticks.
Right. And for me, I think that if we opened the door, this is just opportunity. It's not a guarantee. None of this is a guarantee because it really stands in the eye of the person. It's not about like us having the magical ability to snap our fingers and make this person become clean and productive and all this and that. But what we do is we say, you have a door to walk through. You have an opportunity to recover. You have an opportunity to be back to where you want to be in life. And if that opportunity is shut down and we don't do our part in opening those doors, then we're not showing that support that we should be showing.
If we build it, they will come.
That on so many levels is that
We build a drug
that's
facility,
that's
they
a
will
two-way
come.
street,
If we build
right?
a school,
Right.
Damn it.
Now, talking about economics, and we've had a conversation about this a couple of times. A school, in general, like especially a college, especially a four-year college, something that somebody can show up and gain something that's going to hopefully better their life, right?
vocational.
All vocational.
That's where I think it's at in this
Right,
city.
and I've had
I
other
think that's
people.
where it's at.
I have a traditional college degree,
Mm-hmm.
right? So my background is like, yeah, I think we should have a traditional college degree. But I know there's, especially because Diamond is such a great performing school in this area, we very likely should have it be a college, vocational college situation. Whatever it is, I want to have the dialogue. I want to have the conversation. I want people who actually care about this topic to come to the forefront, especially people who have the ability to acquire property, acquire assets, acquire
Even middle school
resources.
vocational classes, because not everybody is
Right.
meant to go to a four-year college.
Right. And again, it's not turning our back on the people who need recovery. What it is, it's opening up a door so that people, when they do get through their recovery issues, or if they want to do something different with their lives, they have an opportunity to do it. And it's not just about picking up a job somewhere that's minimum wage. They actually have an opportunity to grow into something that might be bigger than what they never thought would happen before. We don't even have that opportunity. We don't even put that out there. We have our community college, again, no disrespect, but it only caps us so far. People are going to leave the city. They have to leave the city in order to gain higher education. They can't stay in the city to gain higher education. And it caps us. It stops us from growing, in my opinion, in that aspect. We can grow in other aspects. There's definitely other aspects to grow as a city that you don't need a four-year college or four-year vocational college to do. I understand that. But for a city that has just literally invested,
No, but those-
they've invested so much into this new high school under the premise that we care about our children's education. This is going to help the future economy of Fall River. They've said that. How does it help the economy in Fall River if when they want to become a college student and grow as an adult, a young adult at
They have to
18,
leave.
they have to leave the city? How does that help the economy of the city? You know what a four-year college does economically?
I got news for everybody though. A four-year college is not about. It's about to take a massive hit where people aren't. It's
Divorce. I
It
know.
is about to
Yeah.
take a massive hit.
I'm trying to ignore this divorce business.
Well, and
Nikki.
it goes bigger than that, though. Even
Jeez, nuts.
people are finally recognizing. You know, for so many years, we're like, everybody's got to go to college.
You don't
People
have
are finally recognizing now. You know what? Not everybody is meant for college.
No.
Which again,
Vocation.
when we look at Fall River, right?
Vocation.
How many times have I said you look at the jobs that we have, right? All the jobs, most of the jobs that are advertised.
Right.
It's retail. You don't need an education for retail, folks.
But people want to make a career out of that.
Exactly. There are some, but I won't take that away from people who want to go into business management and things like that. But I'm talking about low-level retail jobs, the people that are behind the cashiers, the registers and things like that, that need to work. They work paycheck to paycheck. If we could get vocational courses in, where maybe they would be interested in taking a business class. But when you say you got to go to BCC and apply for financial aid, or you pay for a loan, and then you hear this person's still paying for a loan 20 years later, they can't afford, they're living with their parents and they're 40 years old because they're still paying off loans. It's not going to happen that way.
Right.
I'm telling you, vocational, if this city can expand Diamond, and we need to do that because Diamond doesn't ask for a lot.
And they do so well. They are such a well-performing school. In the entire state, they perform well.
And former Diamond students need to come out and show how much they've made Fall River a better place. Because Mr. Aubin, I told you, he spoke at City Council, at a City Council meeting. They wanted money for a study to see if they should either add on or rebuild a school. I think we need to invest in that. I think vocational courses for a lot of even for our adults, we have a high rate of women on welfare, people. Like, let's not sugarcoat what we do have. So how wonderful would it be if women, instead of getting pushed into classes, Betsy DeVos just let it, that's the other thing that she did. She made it so that people still had to pay their stupid loans to these stupid places like the Salter School and the Sawyer School, whatever, that did absolutely nothing for the thousands of women that were forced to go through, not forced, but pushed to go through these schools because they were on welfare. Get rid of that, get them in a Diamond, get them doing some of these courses. It's a local school. A lot of the kids who come out of Diamond stay local. They open businesses locally.
Diamond, I know for a fact that the Diamond nursing program has been very productive.
There's tons. And the thing is, they just expanded their courses for freshmen. They're trying to expand female-dominated careers in those classes. My daughter just started, she actually likes HVAC.
I just want to see, it is cool, by the way, I just want to see the city put as much fervor into education and jobs as they do in drug treatment facilities and things like that. The end game.
They put more into the
maintenance.
Yeah,
right.
This is just where it's going to end up anyway. So
yeah.
Let's just do this.
The maintenance of an individual rather than the progression of an individual. It's just not. It shows in its commitment. And then when you walk out in the street and you see that there's trash piled up everywhere and there's litter everywhere, and nobody cares about their community as much as they used to anymore. It just permeates. If your city shows a commitment to the improvement of individuals, then I think that attitude, that energy is going to permeate through, and you're going to start to see it reflective in how we interact with each other and things like that. There are some really, really, really good people in this city that want to see good things happen, but they get discouraged when they don't feel like they got the support around them. And I really do think that if you build and put this much money into another methadone clinic, again, there are some people that are going to benefit from it. There's no doubt about that. There will be people who will benefit from it. I think overall, it just doubles down on an issue that we've already been trying to tackle, and it's less resources and less property, it's less everything, that we have an opportunity to build on something we need, which is to keep our high school and community college students in this area and let them grow into business owners and professionals in this city. And not only that, but again, and I wanted to say this real quick, having a college, whether it be a 4-year college, whether it be a voc college, whatever it is that you want it to be, med school, law school, there's so many different options you got out there. What it does is every 4 years, it brings in a group of 18 to 20-year-olds. 18 to 20-year-olds that are growing into adulthood, that are going to want to go into the community, that are going to want to spend money and spend time and invest in the community that they are in. Every 4 years it happens. You go down to Brown, you go down, and by the way, Fall River is not so close to Dartmouth and so close to Bridgewater and so close to these other places that we can't have a college ourselves because they group colleges all together everywhere. And you go to Providence area, you go to the Cambridge and Boston area, there's nothing but colleges around every corner up that way. Even in the Brockton area,
I mean, I don't want to knock BCC
well.
though, because they just started. They started to expand.
If they build themselves into a 4-year college, and I'm fine with that too.
So maybe that's something that we need to do instead
I have no problem with something like that.
You know, I want to discuss too where the location where they want to open up the methadone clinic is rather close to where they've always been talking about opening the bus station or the train station, whatever it was. I feel like that's an issue too there. I feel like, why do they want to be so close to the train station or bus station, whichever station is supposed to be down that way? So that just tells you too, like it lets me know I'm a Fall River resident, lifelong, born and raised.
Yeah.
And it lets me know they don't really care about the actual residents of the city. I do think that there is money to be made. I think more residents don't want it than do, and I think they should probably look into other locations.
It's just amazing. I mean, you don't want to. You don't want to politicize everything. But it's just interesting that the people don't have a say in any of this.
I don't want to be stuck between a casino and a methadone clinic.
You don't have, well, you have, at least you have Market Basket between all that.
Thanks to Dave Mead.
Well, yeah. Well, he needs to do his job and get himself, I need to connect myself with David Mead so we can get a Whole Foods down here.
Listen, all I know is Dave Mead talked about a bus station.
Got it.
Got the bus station. Dave Mead talked about Market Basket.
Got it.
Market Basket. Dave Mead talked about the
Capitol.
The Capitol.
Boom. That's getting wheels in motion.
So either
let's face it. Jazel Correa II has stolen ideas from David Mead. Let's just be real about it.
That I'm like, I don't know. There's something about David Mead.
Let's be very real about the situation.
I'm going to give that man some kind of credit.
There you go.
I don't know what credit to give or...
So David Mead, I challenge you, sir. I want there to be a Whole Foods in Fall River.
A 4-year college and a vocational school.
And a Whole Foods.
And a Whole Foods.
That's what I want.
We're going to shit ourselves if a Whole Foods opens up. It's going to
I
be
will
like, hey,
lose my mind if David Mead gets a...
David Mead, the magical man.
If David Mead gets a...
That would be something, wouldn't it?
Whole Foods.
Honest to God, in all reality, if David Mead, like, if he starts, the next thing he talks about, if he's, so either he has some intel that none of us are aware, like he's got somebody that's in there that knows things beforehand, or he's literally some magical man.
Elf. No, he would be an ogre.
Elf on the shelf?
No, he's an ogre. He's a big guy. That's a big guy.
Ogre?
Yeah.
I've seen him tear down fences.
It's on YouTube.
He tears down walls.
Wow.
What?
It's been in front of us this whole time.
All this time. Maybe he's the guy Nostradamus.
There's a reason why I used to call his show every Monday. I call his show every single Monday.
Magical Mead?
Can we go back to nostalgia? Because I do miss BCC.
Absolutely miss BCC.
I miss doing the shows on BCC. Yeah. That was a good time.
In our window into the world.
Yeah. And the cool moose.
I miss him. I think of him often, you know. When Alexander Ocasio-Cortez won, there have been a few little elections throughout the country where people haven't really raised a lot of money and they've won, and I've thought about him. I'm like,
so you consider yourself a liberal? Yes?
I don't consider myself anything. I try not to label myself, because if we actually sat and
talked
about what I agree with and what I don't agree with, you'd be like, how the hell can you think?
Well, I am. I'm actually gonna throw out some topics here, because the thing is,
you want to label me.
Yes, I do. I want to completely compartmentalize you into something. No, I guess my point is that you have people that say, oh, you're a conservative, you're a liberal, you're this, you're that, based on your position
one topic
on a topic or two. So, like for me,
fires me up.
Like for me, if I say that I don't agree with the tariff war, then all of a sudden I'm like supposedly supporting liberal policy, right?
Like you love China.
Or if I don't want to see a $12 billion, or if I don't think a $12 billion bailout is a good thing for us, if I don't think that, let's see what was some of the things. Oh, all right. If I think that a full-blown investigation should be had when we're talking about something as important as a Supreme Court justice, somehow, some way, I'm taking on a partisan liberal point of view.
That's part of the problem.
But that doesn't make you a liberal or a conservative.
No.
That makes you look at the situation and formulate an opinion.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter.
Your opinion shouldn't be labeled.
It doesn't make you a liberal. I sit there and I watch a liberal politician and I'm like, I don't agree with that. That's not me.
I'm usually like when Dianne Feinstein speaks.
Right.
Usually I'm like, shut up.
Right.
Or when people are like, oh, Nancy Pelosi is gonna leave. I go like this. I go like this.
Right.
I go get Nancy Pelosi out of here.
I absolutely 100% do not like Nancy Pelosi.
Neither do I.
At all. So like, just because you disagree with my opinion,
right,
doesn't make me a liberal or a conservative or this or that. I've had people tell me that I act like Trump sometimes. Why? Because I think that we shouldn't be protesting a $75,000 contract to sell water to a water distribution place, right? So all of a sudden, that's a Trump position.
Trumpian?
I don't care about the environment. I don't care about the environment. But it's interesting that I do care about the environment because guess what? I have not eaten meat in about almost 4 months now. And I've done a lot of reading.
Afraid of the cow boofa?
And I'm going to let that one go for me. I'm going to give you a moment of silence on that, Nick. Okay. So I have been doing a lot of reading about how good eating a vegan diet is for the environment. Guess how many gallons of water it saves? Like,
oh yeah,
hundreds of millions of gallons of water it saves on a regular basis by simply not eating cow meat and pork and chicken too, by the way. So could I then say that people who eat meat don't care about the environment?
How about people who don't collect rainwater but pay for it?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
That's dumb.
That's a tough one.
You pay for it, collect it, and use it.
It's yours.
Right?
You paid for it.
Nope. They let it go down the drain, they pay for it, and then they pay to turn on the tap water to water their garden. What?
Bunch of free riders.
What?
Well, those guys aren't free riders.
No, they're cool with giving the government extra money.
They're just giving the government money. Do you save your rainwater?
They don't mind. No.
So you're a victim.
I actually, when I'm lying.
You're an.
I do set out buckets, but my buckets are on the smaller side, so they don't always catch what I should use.
Do you remember that song? There's a hole in the bucket.
But I do save water. You'd be surprised at the stuff that I do to save water.
Do you remember that song? There's a hole in the bucket.
Dear Liza, dear Liza.
I don't want you to sing the whole thing. All right, I'm gonna turn the microphone off. All right.
A hole.
So. When you said that, that made me think of that.
Is that just because we went to elementary school in Fall River? Is that why we can sing those songs? Because if I throw out Shrimp Boat,
Mrs. Fennessy. Mrs. Fennessy's class. I used to sing that.
Shrimp boats are coming. No?
Nope.
Awful. We learned if you look into the meaning of some of the songs. No. If we look into the music of some of the songs that we used to sing, they were pretty freaking racist.
Do you remember Mrs. Brickalt?
Yes.
Okay.
I never had her as a teacher though.
She was one of my favorites.
I had Mrs. Hoyle.
I remember Mrs. Hoyle, yeah.
She was cool.
Mrs.
I gave her
Cody.
a pocketbook when I was in 3rd grade for Christmas.
Mrs.
Cool.
Cody was one of my all-time favorite
Never
teachers.
had her either, but I do love her. I always tried to set her and Mr. Smith up.
Mrs. McHugh?
Never had her either. You had all the opposite teachers I had.
Well, I had Mr. Smith for a little while, too. I think everybody had Mr. Smith.
He was cool.
Yeah. Mrs. Valero.
Never had her either. She was psycho. She was 2nd grade, right?
Yeah, but Mr. Garofalo was the worst.
You know what I just learned today, actually? That the Stone School is now in the North End. It's the Westall. They named it the Stone School.
I wish you could see her face.
How does... No. Yeah, I'm like, it's not even named Stone. I'm like, it's George B. Stone.
Boom.
People don't know that.
Well, now they do.
That was my elementary school originally. Was
the 3 people listening.
The George B. Stone School.
The 3 people listening to the show.
And then they closed it because there weren't enough of kids. So they closed it and merged us with Laurel Lake.
Ah.
So it was like I went to a new school.
And now it's a Family Dollar or Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree. And also O'Reilly's Auto Parts.
I have bricks from the school.
You have bricks from the school? Can I have one?
I have bricks from Laurel Lake and I have bricks from Henry Lord.
I want the Laurel Lake one. I mean, I spent a year at the old Henry Lord, but Laurel Lake is like my heart and soul, man. Like that's where I listened to Belle Biv DeVoe and Bobby Brown and did the dance contest and won a
Laurel Lake.
T-shirt, and I won my 5th grade spelling bee at Laurel Lake.
Who was the principal when you went?
Miss
Foley?
Foley.
He got into trouble.
I heard.
Yeah.
I heard.
Embezzlement.
He and I, like, I mean, I was a little kid. I don't know him.
He was awesome.
Right. I remember him, but I remember my teachers.
I was there when Bob Correa was a state rep.
Wow.
We went to the State House.
In the 1800s?
Shut up.
Wow.
We went
Nice.
to the State House.
Did you save a brick from that? No, they didn't invent brick yet back then. Did you save a straw piece from that building? No?
It does make me feel old when I think about it. I'm like, wow, that was a long time ago.
Did you save the clay?
I actually have a lot of stuff from Laurel Lake. Like,
If you care about the environment, you would be a vegan.
and save bricks from the old school
Yes.
that gets torn down.
600 million gallons of water a day. Then you can sell it to
How many
Invenergy.
people wear a pair of pants once and wash it?
Then you can sell it to Invenergy and frack or whatever they're doing over there. Which
Listen,
they're not
Fall
even
River-
doing it.
Fall River wouldn't even sell their poop once upon a time
They're not
because they weren't
even.
getting paid enough for it.
Invenergy isn't even. They haven't even built anything over there yet.
Nope. And we could have been getting paid for nothing.
Right. That's what I've been saying. Easiest money I've ever made. Let's see.
I'd have been
Oh, there's another issue. Nikki,
Is there?
another issue that I happen to see out there,
You're kidding.
and talk about free speech and businesses and all this and that. Do you remember the motto "Make it here"? Remember how popular that was? Remember how the city was just in love with that? No, you don't remember that? It's because it wasn't. But businesses have purchased the banners. You've seen them around the city.
I've seen them.
Make it here, it says. And
But the damn flags are made in New York.
That's true. But someone decided to put "Choose Life" on one of their banners.
Oh. Nice. Freedom of speech. Go for it.
You okay with that?
I am.
Because that's a pretty strong topic.
I'm okay with that.
As long as you're able to buy.
Because here's the thing, though. I don't want to tell somebody who wants to share that voice
Point
that
of
they
view.
can't share that. Of course they can. And I absolutely 100% respect that decision.
It got taken down.
Come on.
It got
That's
taken
the
down?
problem. This is why there's two damn sides. They keep making it be two sides. Why isn't it okay that somebody wants to say choose life?
They chose to spend their money on that.
Oh my gosh, that's so wrong.
Choose Life. That's what it said, and it got knocked down.
Why wouldn't they let that be okay?
Because I think there's some people out there that believe that
I believe in I'm pro-choice,
there's a
but
lot.
I like to choose life too. There's nothing. I'm not saying die, bitch. Like this.
There's a lot of people out there that
Oh,
believe that the ordinance of not making signs political applies to that.
Then there should not be signs that say "Make it here" hung up anywhere.
And the "Make It Here" logo and all that stuff is supposed to be to promote businesses, not to promote political points of view.
Oh well, I'm sorry to whoever purchased that flag and had to have it taken down. This pro-lifer apologizes that people are so ignorant that they can't understand that we are all entitled to have an opinion. All of us. That makes me so sad because that's why people are unwilling to sit down.
I will say the PC
and talk about and come to an agreement. That's why.
The PC situation is another thing about the liberal progressive agenda that I am not fully on board with. I think you should have respectful discourse with people. I don't think you should be outwardly disrespecting people left and right. Like, I don't like that at all. But I think that we go a little too far with the PC thing. I think that if that person purchased that sign with the purpose of putting up pro-life or choose life, whatever you want.
Do we know what business it is?
I don't. I think that there's a paper on it. I can read up on it. I didn't read all the details on it.
Damn it.
But the situation is what it is. But I think that if we are going to have a dialogue of these topics, suppression is
Not good.
right. It's the last thing that we need.
It's just not. You can't tell somebody, I want you to hear me, but I don't want to hear you. Like, if I sat down
really
with this
good,
person,
Nikki. That's actually really, really, really good.
Seriously, it's the truth
really
though. Like that's what bothers me. Like, honest to God, when I'm watching TV and I hear so many people talk, like, I love Bill Maher, but when I hear him say the South is dumb, I yell at. I'm sitting at home and I'm watching the TV and I'm like, no. Trump voters weren't dumb. Trump voters are desperate because they've been ignored, just like I've been ignored at times. It doesn't mean that we have the same issues. It just means that there's different issues. Let's talk about it. Why are you having such a hard time with X, Y, and Z? At the end of the day, we all just want to survive. At the end of the day, we want to be able to feed our families. At the end of the day, we just want to be happy. So if that's the case, like, we're not all going to agree with. Imagine if somebody said every day, like, everybody in the United States all has to wear blue on Tuesdays. Y'all have to wear green on Wednesdays. We don't have to. That's the beauty about being in our country, is we're supposed to be allowed to have our own opinions. We're supposed to respect. Like, I don't hate you because you think of something. You don't feel the same.
You're not my enemy.
Do.
You're not my enemy just because you disagree with me.
No, right. I want to find what we get along with. You might be pro-life and I'm pro-choice.
But isn't it that winning mentality again? Isn't it that whole thing?
You know, a lot of the times when I talk, I like having the pro-life, pro-choice conversation. Because a lot of the time when I talk to people about it, I then ask pro-lifers how they feel about in vitro fertilization. A lot of people don't realize that if abortion becomes illegal, in vitro fertilization goes by the wayside. There are many, 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 many fertilized eggs that get destroyed every single day. Fertilized. I'm not talking unfertilized. I'm talking fertilized eggs that get destroyed every day, but nobody talks about that conversation. Instead, it's just the argument of pro-choice, pro-life. Pro-choice, pro-life. I'm pro-life. I don't want anybody to die. But I'm not about to tell you, again, you either need to be one way or the other. I'm going to stay out of your business. I don't care what you do with your body. Just don't tell me what to do with mine. I don't care how you spend your money. Don't tell me how to spend mine.
So what about the argument that the baby, or even if it's not fully developed or anything like that, is that a life?
No. In my opinion, but I'm not going to tell you.
At what point, in your opinion, does it become one?
Okay, well, because I've been pregnant, right?
Which is the exact reason why I'm asking you the question, and I'm not answering the question.
For me,
right?
Like my first pregnancy, my daughter didn't move. She only kicked me twice, and she never moved. So much so that at my doctor's appointments, I had to have a ton of ultrasounds because she never moved. Did I feel like I had a baby in there? No, because she never moved. I didn't feel like I had a baby until I gave birth.
Okay.
I don't think that...
at what point does a person say, I'm not going to have an abortion because this is a baby?
Okay. When I got pregnant my second time, my youngest daughter, I was going to have an abortion. I was not in a committed relationship at that time. We were together, but not fully together. And because I had my first daughter, her father beat it. And I'm okay. I don't need to be in a relationship with you for you to be a father to your child. So that was never the issue. With my oldest daughter, I went through the whole gamut of going to court for child support. My daughter's father was ordered to pay $11.55 a week. No, I want to, because this explains why I felt why I wanted to have an abortion the second time. I was scared out of my mind that I was going to be in the same situation I was in the first time, being unable to feed my child, not being able to buy Christmas presents, not being able to drive your kid to school on a rainy day. So when we got to school, her first day of school, her pants were soaking wet at the bottom. I cried because she cried. It was her first day of school. So things like that, when I got pregnant for my youngest, was on my mind. There was a lot of things that were on my mind. So it was a big deal for me to choose to have my daughter.
And what made you say, I'm not going to do this?
The promise that I wasn't going to have to walk my daughter to school if it was raining. I'm going to cry. It was the promise of...
I can't imagine how you're even talking about it.
It was a promise of him saying, I'm going to be a dad no matter what, because that's what's important. And to me, as a woman, like, a lot of people don't get that. It's bigger than that. Like, so if a woman gets pregnant, it's not a baby to them right away. But the fear is real. And you know, even women who are in marriages, when they find out they're pregnant, it's a huge deal for a woman to find out they're pregnant. And I think if women had more support, so like to my pro-life buddies out there, to me, if you want to sit and have a discussion about pro-life, let's talk about how we can support women from the time they find out they're pregnant. Because if you find out what she fears and you say to her, let's work, we'll help you. I don't know if she would still make that same choice, but you may understand why she wants to make that choice. And then you may say, okay, it's not for me, but I'm gonna...
I'll be very honest. Every which way that it's been presented to me, I've never been able to back it. I've never been able to back it. Yeah. It's not a judgmental thing, because I understand where people are coming from on it. I mean, I know people in my family that did, you know? Yeah. So I understand it, but I just, there's something about it, even though I don't have the ability to hold a baby in my body, I feel like that baby has a right. When your kid,
but okay, that baby does have a right, but at the same time, okay, not every woman that doesn't want to be pregnant doesn't want to have the baby by the time she's 9 months. Okay, so people can easily say, well, you can give that baby up for adoption. Right. Now you're telling a woman it wasn't okay, you weren't okay with her just getting rid of a little teeny tiny egg, but you're okay with her having to give up her child. To give up a child that you give birth to, a child who isn't, and although my oldest daughter didn't move for 9 months, my youngest didn't stop.
Right.
Didn't stop. So now she has to then say, here you go. What if she decides to keep that baby, then can't feed it? So it's great that we can say, like, I want people to understand the reason behind why a woman wants to have an abortion.
Right.
If you can't afford to feed that baby and you're not willing to give that baby up, then what? Because at the same side, we have people saying they're cutting welfare. You're no good if you don't work.
They're actually looking to cut family plan. What is it? Planned Parenthood.
And that's what I mean. Insurance. Yeah. My youngest daughter hasn't had health insurance in 10 years, people. Yeah. 10 years she has not had health insurance. So when we're saying to a woman, I want you to have that baby, even though she's saying...
But you can't have health insurance.
Even though she knows there's no way I'm going to be able to feed my kid. I'm going to have such a hard time. But I can't give it up.
So you would say that if you're going to be pro-life, you got to be pro-support.
Yes. Yes, and supportive of women in general, not just supportive of the baby. That woman has that baby. That woman then becomes a mother. And like I said, you know, it's all well and good. There are some women who say, I can give up my child for adoption. But what about a woman who can't? What about a woman who loves that baby so much? Like, for some reason, we think because a woman has an abortion, she doesn't love her kids.
She doesn't love,
No, she may love her kids so much that she doesn't want to subject her child to being homeless, to not having food. And honest to God, something so simple as my daughter bawling her eyes out because the bottom of her pants are 3 inches too wet because she had to walk to school in the pouring rain is miserable. Your kid waking up on Christmas morning to no Christmas presents underneath that tree, or because her birthday is so close. Because her birthday is so close, those aren't things that people choose to think about. We just say, no, you have to have that baby. You have to, there's adoption. It's not easy for women to do that. It's not easy to do that. Right. If you're not willing to support that woman all the way through, and then if she keeps the baby all the way through to make sure there's clothes on their back, food in their stomachs, that they've got rides, that they can be entertained.
You don't think that these people care about women? Haven't you been watching the whole thing? Care about the plight, right? So
they didn't think that they could handle questioning a woman.
This is not entertainment in my opinion. This is life. So I'm very, very interested in seeing how this goes. Now, I told you that I'm not fully comfortable with supporting it, right?
Yep.
At the same time, I'm not fully comfortable with the government telling people what to do.
No, at the same time, though, if a man has a vote about it, here's the other part. If a man gets to vote on it, they need to come down on men more and make sure that they're parents. Because part of the reason that women have abortions is because a lot of men
They get stuck with
don't come to take care of the baby.
Right.
They don't, like, that ain't, I'm not babysitting. How many times I hear that? I'm not babysitting. I'm not paying for her.
So
nails
again,
to
that
get
comes
done.
down to if you're
Bitch,
pro-life, then you're pro-support.
Well, here's the thing. $11, Massachusetts court ordered my daughter's father to pay $11.55 a week. When I went back for a modification, I wasn't even going to say this. When I went back for a modification, right? $14.44 a week. I never went back after that.
There you go.
I never got anything.
Extra cheese on you, Whopper, with that.
18 years came and gone, right? I got the occasional $60. And I wasn't on welfare. I was on welfare till my daughter was 4 years old. I hadn't been on welfare after that. Last year, my daughter is going to be 23 years old. Last year, I got my child support. Finally.
All of it.
After, and you know what it was? $5,000 total. $5,000 for my daughter.
Thank you for your service.
That is what the state of Massachusetts felt that my daughter's father was responsible for my daughter. $5,000. So again, when they want to stand there and tell me you can't have an abortion, well, you better damn well make sure I can feed this kid, because you tell me how I can go to work and take care of my kid at the same time. Oh, well, you can put your kid in daycare, but somebody's paying for that daycare.
So what about the argument that
you're okay with somebody else raising my kid?
What about the argument that you shouldn't have had the baby in the first place and blah blah blah?
That's
blah,
great.
blah.
Stay out of my vagina.
I'm talking about when they say that's the choice you made when you had the,
That's great. Then you don't have any vote in whether I can have a baby or not. You don't have any vote. I'm fine with that, because I know why. I do ancestry, so I see old records. Once upon a time, men were put in jail when they weren't financially responsible for their children. That's a fact.
There's cultures out there even to this day that they don't allow you to have so much because they need to make sure you
in
can
the
afford.
United States, men were jailed when they weren't responsible for their children. When they abandoned their families, they were jailed. That was changed. Yet women can't decide whether they can or cannot have a baby.
And my father ran out before I was born. I don't really have any kind of connection to him at all. And my mom definitely struggled throughout my raising and all that kind of stuff. So I'm definitely open to that, available to that, understanding of that situation. It's part of the reason why I don't have kids today is because I've never really met a person that I wanted to raise a kid with, and I think that's just as important. People ask me, do you want to have kids? And I'm like, well, who am I raising it with? Like, that's important to me, So I get it. I guess there's always just going to be that little voice in my head, you know what I mean?
And that's fine.
And that's always going to be with me, but I get where you're coming from on this, and they're definitely, like, the natural order of things is, if they're going to say that it's natural for you to have your baby, it's unnatural for you to have an abortion, then go the entire gamut.
Absolutely.
There is
supportive.
A child is not supposed to be raised by one parent. Biologically, like, that's not how human nature was supposed to be intended. If you have a parent, you have two
I'm not
parents.
saying that a kid can't be okay without it, but let's be real. When it comes to being able to feed and support, there's a reason there was a hunter and a gatherer.
Right.
There was a reason for that. There was a reason that...
And again, we're talking about the natural order of things. Right.
So I feel like, if we're going to have a conversation of you want everything to be pro-life, then we need to talk about
pro-support. Right.
And that's where I say there is no sit down to come to an agreement. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
It's the division of things that irritates me. Yeah. No, let's get to the root of why women and
you got people bombing.
Women have been having abortions since the dawn of time.
Well, that's the other thing too.
Anything new.
That's the other thing too. When the government gets involved and tells groups of people they're not allowed to have an abortion, I've not seen that situation be very productive for anybody. Even in this country, it hasn't been productive. It wasn't productive in Ireland just recently. They were going back and forth on that. And I just think that it's just like racism. It's just like the Colin Kaepernick thing. It's just like small local politics in the city. If we can't have a discussion about it without flipping out, without getting personal with each other, without all that foolishness that gets in the way of actual productivity, then we're going to keep on having stuff like the Kavanaugh situation. We're going to keep on having stuff like the millions of years of war and fighting and things like that. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to get us on the right track.
Have you ever thought about, because you said it's always in the back of your head that you can't get behind abortion, but have you ever equated it to the in vitro fertilization? Have you ever thought about how many and I'm saying fertilized eggs are destroyed every year?
Yeah.
But doesn't it make sense to say now nobody says anything about that?
No.
So if that's okay, then why are we making such a big deal about a woman wanting to have an abortion?
Right.
And I'm not saying have an abortion 6 months.
That's what I mean.
Into you, I'm not down for that. First trimester.
All right. So that's what I was asking you before.
Right. You know what I mean?
That's what I was asking you before. At what point is this now? You can't do it. That was my question to you before. At what point do you say to yourself, it can't be done now? Nope, can't do it. And you said first.
Well, for me, I think the first trimester is where people should be aware enough to make that decision. Mm-hmm. Because don't get me wrong, I don't like abortion,
right?
But I think there's a reason for it. Mm-hmm. Like I do believe I don't like it, but I'm not down to tell a woman that she's got to raise this baby if she knows that she can't.
And
not for nothing. Mm-hmm. How come men can walk away? Men can dump and run. That's what they do.
Day.
Like, dude, men can run. Men can go.
Dump and run.
They don't have to be responsible. So I don't get it. Like, it's cool for you to have a baby and take off, but a woman can't. Like, she can't say, I don't want to create a life that's not going to be loved.
Right.
Do you get that? Like, to me, I'm thinking, like, and then at the same time, right, there are women. Okay, Basketball Wives, right? One of the episodes of Basketball Wives, Evelyn Lozada talks about what they're going to do with her fertilized eggs. She's got like 8 of them. I got 6 or 8 fertilized eggs. What am I going to do with them? They're going to destroy them. And all I could think of is she set off butterflies for them. And that's great, right? But at the same time, it's like, to me, that would be like 8 abortions. Mm. It's technically, if you're going to go in, technically, it's the same thing. It's a fertilized egg being destroyed, and nobody says anything about it. So if we're going to have the conversation, let's really have the conversation.
Right.
Don't make it just about what you want it to be about. Let's
what your personal beliefs, or what your personal beliefs are.
Right.
Right. So...
Because everybody is entitled to their own personal beliefs.
So we're going to see, and again, it's not entertainment, this is life. So we're going to see in the future now, this is done. This Kavanaugh business is done.
No, it ain't.
It's not? Nope. Oh, you think they're going to impeach him?
No, I think we got some things to see. The process isn't over. It goes to Congress or Senate or whatever.
Right. But I do think it's going to pass. I think the whole thing's going to go through. And if he becomes a justice, we're going to see if he is going to be the one that triggers the Roe versus Wade, rekindles that whole fire. And then we're going to see how this goes.
You know how I felt about Neil Gorsuch. Everybody was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I don't think he's going to reverse it. I think what we're going to see is the people we thought were very conservative may now be moving a little bit to the left if this guy gets on. And
from what I've seen from Kavanaugh, from what I've seen, his personality, when he was on stage and he was challenged, he was challenged. This is a challenge. People have taken it to a different degree. His life is on the line and this, that, and the other. That's not true. He still has a job when he's done with all this. If he didn't get accepted, he'd still be a judge. He'd still be able to support his family. He'd still be able to have a job. There's nothing, and they can't even do a criminal investigation because I believe the statute of limitations is not even in it, in that jurisdiction. So he's perfectly going to be a human being who can support his family, make money in the whole 9 yards if he doesn't get chosen as a Supreme Court justice. But so I don't think that his life is on the line and all this and that. And maybe his reputation might be on the line, which is still important. But either way, how he handled himself in that stressful situation, which anyone in his shoes, whether he's guilty or not, would be in a stressful situation, correct? Mm-hmm. He didn't handle himself, in my opinion, with the grace and class and all that. He didn't handle himself very well at all. And so as a human being, as a person, I don't think he has the intestinal fortitude to really carry out something so controversial. Mm-hmm. That's my opinion. So that's why I don't know if it's going to go anywhere if he becomes the Supreme Court Justice. Mm-hmm. It could, but I don't think it will. Especially if he doesn't think he has the backing that he had from Donald Trump in this whole thing. If he becomes a Supreme Court Justice, he's got a whole group of people that are going to say no to him. And there's going to be a group of people that say yes to him. And I just wonder how he's going to crack under that pressure. I just don't see that happening. But if he does happen to get through and push this agenda through, this is going to split the country in half harder than it's ever been split before, because now it's not just a racial split. This is a gender split. This is literally going to be women and men.
I think men are going to be very surprised. I think so.
Yeah.
I would venture to guess, being a woman and all, and having the experiences that I've had, mm-hmm. that I'm willing to bank on the fact that the majority of other women in the country have had the same kind of experiences I've had.
Right.
And it's not just one thing that happens to a woman. Mm-hmm. Example, I've been hit with a belt as a teenager. I was walking with a friend. Mm-hmm. To Food Mart, if anybody remembers where that is.
Which used to be Value Land and now is Seabra.
Food Mart was not Value Land. Value Land was on Stafford Road. Value Land was on Stafford Road.
Okay.
Food Mart is where Ocean State Job Lot used to be.
Oh, Food Lot. All right. Ocean State Job Lot. Yeah, I got you. That was Food Mart. That's right.
So we were walking over there, and a car of boys drove by us, and one of the boys had reached out, and they had a belt in their hand, and they whacked me in the rear end with a belt. I've had multiple things like that. And see, you're making a face, but and the guy that did it, if he ever hears the story, he'll know exactly who he is.
You know who that is?
I wish I did.
Oh,
it was nobody that I recognized. But I was hit in the butt. A friend of mine, Chrissy Paradise, was a witness to that. She was the one who was with me, but I had gotten hit with a belt. So things like that have happened on multiple occasions.
And it's happened to many people. Right.
I've been pinched.
We see the objectification on TV all the time.
So I think that the majority of women have probably... So, and it's not so much the case that I think is getting to people, because I have issues with Dr. Christine Blasey Ford's testimony.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there was a lot of holes.
But at the same time, I have a worse problem with the reactions that our representatives, both Democrat and Republican, by the way,
mostly Republicans.
But even Democrats, because I have an issue with the way that they're using this.
Yeah, I didn't like the mocking, and even some of my friends on Facebook that
the president got on, that's bull.
Yeah,
and that right there fires me up.
Yeah, so the mocking is rough, and then even some of my friends on Facebook that posted stuff like, oh, you know, when I was 5, this, you know, my doc, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like, people are just making light and making fun of the possibility of a woman being sexually assaulted. That's not PC. That's not even Democrat, liberal, nothing. That's human being, man. That's being a human being. That's being a regular, normal, respectful individual, and just I just don't understand how you find humor in that. I don't get that. I never did. Now,
because I just told you the story about me getting hit in the rear end with a belt?
Right.
Because there are guys in the world that think that that's okay. And see, the thing that they're not thinking about is the women like me who are out there. Watch out, because I'm telling you, I'm telling you, it's not good. The way they're reacting to it is baloney.
Years ago when I was in the military, I was accused of assault on a female. It was one of these things where I definitely kissed her. So I did something like I kissed her. We kissed. we were in uniform, which is what I knew was wrong. So when I got interviewed by it, first of all, they asked me to go up to the office, and I had no idea what was going on. None whatsoever, because I got called to the office like 3 weeks after we kissed. And I go up there, and they're saying to me, "Do you know so and so?" And I was like, "Oh," and then I was like, "Oh," because now I'm thinking like somebody must have saw us kiss.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah. I was like, man, I did something wrong. I know I did something wrong. So they had a whole different story. Her statement was with them. Her statement was that she didn't know who I was, and that she just walked by my office and I grabbed her, and all this and that, and she made it look like I was like this animal. I'm reading the statement, and I'm like, whoa.
She wanted to get in trouble.
They didn't know that she used to come by my office on a daily basis, and we talk. She borrowed a book from me. The name of the book is Absolute Power, which is just so ironic, and it's by a guy named David Baldacci. I let her borrow the book, and that is what saved me.
Because she had the book.
She had the book in her apartment. If she didn't have that book in her dorm, it was a dorm. She didn't have that book, probably would have went to jail for a false accusation. So I actually know what it's like to be falsely accused, but guess what I didn't do? I didn't make fun of her.
Right.
I didn't call all women scum.
Right.
I didn't play the victim. I didn't dodge questions. I didn't act like a jackass. I got myself a lawyer. I made my statement. I participated in the whole thing. You're
definitely not going on Fox News.
Right. Well, even if I did, I'd still tell the truth. You know what I mean? Either way, I went up there. I told everybody the truth, and then, fortunately, by telling the truth and being forthcoming with the truth, it showed that she was lying, and it got dropped. The whole thing got dropped, and then I believe they got moved off that base and they got sent away. They didn't get her in trouble. They didn't punish her for a false accusation. They just swept it and said, we just drop it and that's it, and moved on. It come to find out later on that someone who is her friend's or her boyfriend's friend, and I didn't even know she had a boyfriend at the time, saw it. And in order to get out of it, she made it look like she was attacked. And that's all it was. It was just something simple as she getting caught cheating, I guess. And instead of just owning up to it and having some integrity, she tried to like ruin my life and put me in jail. And I still to this day don't harbor any ill will towards women, and I don't have any sort of position as like on this. I want to see facts.
Right.
And that was my position on the Kavanaugh situation. Granted, I think his personality isn't fit to be a Supreme Court.
Yeah,
whether he's a Democrat,
situations there.
whether he's a Democrat or a Republican makes no difference to me. It's a personality trait. You can see it. He was snarky. He was handling a very stressful situation in a very bad way. And he even admitted to a little bit himself. He wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal about it later, that he didn't handle himself very well.
Did you have a blackout? Like the way it actually reminded me of Rich Cabaceres.
Yep.
The way that he spoke to women.
Right.
And that's where I have issues with that.
And I mean,
I have issues
we
with
all
that
know
that
whole thing.
And that's more typical.
Right.
I'm telling you.
Right.
I'm telling you,
So here I say, I want facts. The only thing that got me out of it was facts. The only thing that stopped me from going to jail was that I had facts on my side and I was able to prove it. And if there wasn't any of that at all, I would have been very likely convicted of something I didn't do. And that's all I'm asking for with this thing. That's why when it came to the FBI investigation and Donald Trump himself, not 1991 Joe Biden, but 2018 Donald Trump, when he said himself that we are going to have an FBI investigation and they don't have any restrictions. They can go where they need to go with this. I'm doing the hand gestures by Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
If he was able to say that to people in public, then I, as a human being, should be able to take this information and say, okay, we're going to get some factual information. We're going to get some background. We're going to see if what they said in the hearing was accurate or not. We're going to see if these guys were lying. We're going to see these things. We're going to see something. It was very disappointing to hear that the FBI was restricted. It was very disappointing to the entire process. It looked like a whole farce when we learned that they didn't even interview the people who were involved in the situation. So that again is why I have the position I have. It has nothing to do with not liking Donald Trump. It has nothing to do with liberal this and conservative that and this, that, and the other. I just wanted to see an investigation.
It should not be public.
That's it.
That should not have been publicized.
At any rate, I think we had a pretty good one here.
Yeah.
The Celtics are starting their season.
The Sox beat the Yanks. Woohoo!
I anticipated that one because it's Chris Sale. He's a monster.
I know, but still, I still have to be excited about it.
I do not have a whole lot of confidence in the Red Sox beating the Yankees in the series.
Listen, that's the rivalry. I love us because we're like siblings. Like the Red Sox and the Yankees are like siblings.
David Price on the mound today against the Yankees, and I am not looking forward to this. David Price cracks under pressure just like Kavanaugh did. We're going to have problems. We are going to have problems. And if they like, I got my Red Sox shirt on today. I'm ready. I got my Mookie Betts on the back, my man. But I'll be very, very glad to be wrong today if David Price goes out there and throws like 1986 Roger Clemens today. That'd be beautiful.
Just Nike. That's all I got.
So we're ready.
My Nike stuff.
We're ready, Red Sox Nation. Get it together.
Yeah.
All right, we're out of here. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening.
Thank you.
We were live today. We didn't get any calls, but thank you to Jared for messaging us on the chat room there. Appreciate that. I do feel like we're going to be a little more consistent. I got my free afternoons.
Yeah, well, we usually have a little sabbatical.
Right.
Is that what they call it?
Well, for me, I know for me, my jobs were getting in the way.
You got more than one?
Yeah. 10 job, man. So that was from In Living Color. So I have no issue now. I can definitely be here for at least 11 to noon, to be here till about 1 to 2 o'clock. I don't have anything in the way of that anymore unless there's a work-related thing. Sometimes there's a Veterans Expo or something like that. So we should be able to do this.
That's when we need to take it on the road when we do one of those. Like have me and Derek there on the side.
Yeah.
Oh, like a little booth thing? We can have a little booth set up.
We can go to a Patriots game or a Celtics game and do City Talk from the sidelines, you know?
City Talk Pats!
Yeah, City Talk Pats. All right, everybody, thank you so much again for listening. Have a great day.
Hasta luego.